Greetings, Cleveland. This is TV20 Spotlight on Arts, Culture, and Entertainment. I'm your host, Cornell Calhoun III, and today we spotlight the Italian American Heritage Month. I am pleased to have as my guest today, Ms. Pamela D'Orazio Dean, Chair of the Italian American Heritage Month Committee. Pam, welcome to Spotlight.
Thank you so much. Very happy to be here with you.
It's my pleasure. Quick question. What is your day job? I know you've been chair of the committee for the last 6 years, but let's talk about your day job.
So I am the curator for Italian American history at the Western Reserve Historical Society and the director of the Italian American Museum of Cleveland, which just opened last October.
And what are some of your duties in that position?
I preserve the history of the Italian Americans in Northeast Ohio, and I do that by collecting documents and photographs and objects, as well as doing programs and presentations to teach people about that history. And then at the museum, we have exhibits where people can come and learn about all of the positive contributions Italians have made to our region.
So now I understand why they made you chair of the committee.
Yes, it's right in there.
Can you give a brief history of the Italian American community in the city of Cleveland? Some of like the leading leaders, or current leaders, past and present, and maybe how they migrated where to what locations and so forth?
So Italians have been in Cleveland since the early 1800s, but just a very few that came in for work, for professional reasons. They were more professionals and came here because they had a trade or a skill. It was really between the period of 1880 to 1920 that the majority of Italian immigrants came to Cleveland. That was the period of the new immigration, the mass immigration to the United States. Over 4 million Italians immigrated here to the United States, and 25,000 of those immigrated to Cleveland. And when they settled here in Cleveland, the first neighborhood they settled in was called Big Italy. And that is where Progressive Field is now, and Tri-C Campus and the freeway. There's nothing left of that neighborhood except for the building that was the first Italian church in Cleveland, which it was St. Anthony Church on Carnegie, right across from the Hilton Garden Inn. It is now a Lebanese church, and that parish of St. Anthony has relocated out to Parma. And then, of course, the other neighborhoods in Cleveland that became Italian started to rise up after that in the late 1880s, like Little Italy and Luna Park in East 110th and Woodland and Blue Rock Spring. And then on the west side, and Collinwood on the east side. And then on the west side, there was the community around St. Rocco and the community around Our Lady of Mount Carmel.
Now, the Italian American Heritage Month, why do you think that's important, obviously? To the audience? Why is that important to the city of Cleveland also?
Italian Americans is one of the largest immigrant groups to Northeast Ohio, and they made a number of positive contributions to the region through politics and business and education and law, it's good to recognize those contributions because Italians were successful because of their work ethic, their faith, their connection to family, and their civic pride. And I think every ethnic group deserves to be recognized because there were so many in Cleveland, and they all made Cleveland the wonderful city that it is.
I was a part of that committee for years when I worked as arts and culture coordinator for Mayor Jackson. And I remember, and I'm testing your memory here, in 2015, I believe, there was a chef who was recognized, and I can't remember his name now, but what struck me during his speech was he talked about how the people, the businesses in the community, he wanted to emulate because they were hardworking and they took pride in serving their customers and so forth. And I could really relate to that because growing up on Cedar and Central, there was a gentleman by the name of Troy Lee James who owned a small business, a small grocery store. And Troy's place was where a lot of people went to just not only get groceries, but to get advice and counsel. And I looked up to him because he was hardworking, had a daughter and a wife, and they worked this little store. And then he later went on to be state representative for like 36 years, Troy Lee James. There's also a highway named after him. So when I heard this Italian chef talking about, not talking about baseball players or football players that he tried to emulate, it just struck me that people in the community are just as important, So what does it mean to be an Italian American in your words?
Well, a lot of people immediately go to food, which, of course, Italian food is fantastic.
Right, yes.
And we do love to have food at events and, and gatherings and the Sunday family dinners. It's all about getting together around food. But I think 3 terms sum up what it means to be an Italian American: faith, family, and ambition. Faith, not only religious faith, but also faith in yourself, faith in your family, that you're going to be successful, that you're going to do the best you can in life. And then family is not only your blood relatives, but the community that you're in. You use them for support, but you also give back to that community. And ambition is the drive that I think Italian Americans have to be successful and to do the best they can at whatever they do, whether they were laying bricks on the streets or, in city council. Italian Americans always want to do the best they can. And that's part of the reason why we recognize Italians during Italian Heritage Month, because a lot of those people are in the background. They don't often get the recognition they deserve, the thanks they deserve for doing all that they do for the community and their profession. So we want to recognize those. And I guess that's the 4th trait of Italians is humility. We don't do things to get accolades. And a lot of the people who we call and say you're being recognized are like, oh, really? I don't, that's okay. I'm a background person. And it's like, no, you've done a lot of hard work. You deserve.
And see, that's just like that chef, because his whole speech was it wasn't about money. It was about serving the customers. And he said that's what he was proud of. Not so much that his business was successful. Yeah, that was great. Mm-hmm. You were able to earn a living and take care of your family. But it was the fact that he wanted to satisfy his customers. And he was always happy when the customers, would come in and say, oh, that Polish boy was fabulous. That pasta was fabulous. That's what was important. Mm-hmm. So, and how did you become involved with the committee? Because this celebration has grown, because I can recall like in 2014 was my first time on the committee, helping Matt Zone, the former councilman, bring in the supplies, and we would put the tablecloths on the tables. And then by 2016, 2017, they didn't even need me anymore. The only thing they needed me to do was get the permits and stuff, because he had so many volunteers. So how did he get you to be involved in the committee?
I think the first year we did this was 2006. Maybe it was 2007.
Okay.
Sometime around there. And I had the job as curator for Italian American history then. And so Matt reached out to me to just be a part of the committee. So I've been on the committee since the beginning of the event. And then when Matt knew that he wasn't going to be able to do it forever, he wanted to make sure that the event and the committee would go on. So he asked me to chair it, and I gladly accepted. And it's a lot of hard work, but I have a great committee that supports the work that we do, and they're very helpful, as you say, for everything from selecting the honorees, soliciting nominations, and then putting the tablecloths up at the event.
Well, he made a good choice.
Thank you.
Okay, so the opening celebration is October the 3rd, Monday, October the 3rd, 6 p.m.
Yes.
Who are some of the honorees, or is that you're waiting until?
No, it's public now.
Okay,
We usually wait until they know and then we announce it. So there are 4 honorees this year. For business is Biagio's Donuts and Pizza Shop on the east side of Cleveland in Eastlake. They've been around since 1963. The business was started by Biagio Capodanno, and it's now run by his family. And then for city employee is Mike LaMonica from the Division of Water. He's been with the Division of Water for since 1985, I believe, and now he's the manager of general maintenance. And then for culture, we're honoring Jim Lucchese, who is the president of the North Italian Club. The North Italian Club was a West Side organization that started in 1928, I believe, They've been around for a long time, but they had some issues there for a while. They were losing membership, and then when Jim came along in 2005, he pretty much tripled the membership. Through that organization, he is keeping the culture alive and present for the new generation to learn Italian American traditions.
So is this event free and open to the public, or is it invitation, or how's that work?
It is free and open to the public, but I do have one more honoree that I don't want to leave out.
Okay.
And that's Stan Lawrence, and he's a volunteer for the Italian Cultural Garden. Spends all his free time at the garden planting and weeding and putting up Christmas decorations every year. So I didn't want to forget Stan.
Well, no problem. And so,
the event is free and open to the public. It's October 3rd at 6 p.m. We'll have about an hour and 15-minute ceremony, and then after that, of course, we enjoy a buffet dinner together that is sponsored by the Italian Sons and Daughters of America.
And how many people are you expecting?
I think the event usually gets around 200 people. Now, because of COVID, we've had to, scale back, but this year I think we'll be back up to where we were.
I can remember in the heyday when I was on the committee, one time there were just buses and busloads of people coming in.
Some of the Italian clubs do rent buses for their members to get all their members to the event, which is fantastic. We want everybody to participate.
There's also an Italian newspaper, if I'm correct, right? What is the Italian newspaper?
So there's La Gazzetta Italiana, and that is the Northeast Ohio Italian American newspaper. And that's been around since the 90s. And it's a good instrument to communicate different events and happenings to the community. And
are there any other events that you know of taking place during this October celebration of Italian American Heritage Month?
Yes. So many of them are taking place at the Italian American Museum of Cleveland. On October 1st is a program on Italian American winemaking and other traditions. So there's a third generation Cleveland Italian American who is going to be, his name is Rob Pietroia. He's going to be talking about his family's history of winemaking. And then the 2 Saturdays in October, we're going to be exploring a different region of Italy with Dr. Paola Basile, who is the Italian Studies professor at Lake Erie College. And then trying to think, there's so much going on that month.
Is there like a website or something where people can go to find out more information about this?
The La Gazzetta Italiana website, the newspaper we were just talking about, they are going to publish all of the events that are going on. And then in the program for Italian Heritage Month, the ceremony that we have, we usually put
have the events in there. Okay,
yeah.
That's fabulous. So my final question to you is there anything that you would like to see with the Italian American Heritage Month grow? I mean, is there anything that you have a goal of accomplishing?
I would like to grow the museum, the Italian American Museum of Cleveland, as the generations go further and as people move. Museums and cultural institutions make an important statement and take an important role in preserving the culture and being a gathering place for Italian Americans to come together and celebrate their culture, for the younger generations to learn about the culture. And we have a small space in Little Italy right now. And we're able to do programs and exhibits, but it would be great if we could grow that into a bigger cultural center so we can offer more programs to bigger groups and do more exhibits.
So that museum exists now
Yes.
currently? Okay.
Yep. It's
and where's it located at?
in Little Italy, right next to Presti's Bakery. Everybody knows Presti's.
Presti's Bakery,
So, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All
So
right.
we're right on the main street, Mayfield Road, right next to Presti's.
Pam, thank you so much for being on.
You're welcome.
It really was a pleasure.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure too.
I'm Cornell Hubert Calhoun III for Spotlight and TV 20. Cleveland, be well, be safe.